All right, so this is going to be the second video of my channel, second video of the series that I'm hoping to put together. Now, I've tried to do a second video before this. The second video I tried to do before this was talking about work, my background, things like that. But instead, what I've decided is that it's better for me to really dive into the things that I really want to talk about. Some of the issues that I see out in life have to do fundamentally with how our perspective is, how we view things, how we see things. In my opinion, I've led a pretty extraordinary life for being a common man. I've experienced things and seen things and thought things and felt things that I think that a lot of people just don't have the courage or the opportunity maybe to experience. As an example, for many years I ran around as a gothic. I wore makeup, I had long hair, which I dyed black a lot of times. I wore fishnets, I was covered in spikes. And a lot of people didn't understand why I did that. There were several reasons why I did that. One, I did like the music. I did like how the things that were happening in the scene, the women ran around in lingerie. I mean, and there was something always about how a woman would have that dangerous look that was attractive to me. Additionally, what it allowed for me to do is that I was a philosopher. I didn't see the world like other people, and so it was more accepting for how my thought processes are, how my heart is. I see the beauty in the darkness. I see the beauty in the light. But when you're really seeking out truth, when you really want answers about how and why, and the truth is that the idea of light and dark are solely dependent upon one another. As an example, in the Bible, it says, in the beginning there was darkness, and then there was light. Well, in the beginning, if there was darkness, we didn't have all these trials and tribulations. We didn't have all these problems and issues. And so light really invaded darkness. I mean, there was a congruency before the light came. So, for the darkness, the light would be the negative side. For the light, the darkness is the negative side. It's about perspective. One of the examples or analogies that I like to use is one that I've heard from other people say in the past, that what is order for the spider is chaos for the fly. It's the same thing in life. There are things that happen to us in life that we can look at as being tragic, or we can look at as being a blessing. We have the blessings in disguise. You have the phrases of things like, angels come in the guises of demons sometimes, and vice versa. Sometimes the most dangerous thing that you can come across is often the most beautiful. It's what suckers you in, so to speak. Originally, when I started to do this, I was going to come. I wanted to be this harbinger of light. That I wanted to bring peace in tranquility to other people. But the truth of the matter is that that's not really what I represent. What I represent is I represent the truth. What I represent is an acceptance of all things That includes the darkness. That includes the negativities that happen in life. Um, we need to grow as a people. That much is true. We need to help each other. I absolutely believe in diversity. I absolutely believe that love is a great experience to have. But I also understand that heartbreak, loneliness, uh, the feeling of being lost, those are all necessary in life. The reason it's necessary in life is because you have no comparison. See, here's the thing. Almost every religion talks about us having an eternal soul. Now, if there's any truth to that, to having an eternal soul, then that means that this life here is going to be very brief in comparison to what your existence is actually going to be. Now, I like to go to movies. I like to watch. I watch a lot of sci-fi, a lot of fantasy. I even, I do like things like romantic comedies on occasion. Things like that. But in almost every movie that I've ever seen, there's a bad guy, or there's a bad circumstance. As a matter of fact, I can't really recollect any movie that I've ever seen that was just pure happiness throughout the whole movie. Now, why is that? Well, the reason is because if there was no bad guy, if there was no adversity to overcome, you would lose interest in watching that movie. Life is very similar to that. Without adversity, without there being bad guys out in the world, you would lose interest. I know that when things are tough and it seems like the world is working against you, it may not feel that way to you. Not at the moment. But the things that you learn, the knowledge you gain, the wisdom you gain from these activities that occur is what gives you the perspectives you need to see that life is intended to be more than just happiness. I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to tell you that you should always have positive thoughts. I'm not going to be one of those people that tell you that you should always love everybody. Now, as much as I believe in diversity, as much as that I try to love as much as I can, as far as other people being human and being part of humanity, there's certain things that really need to be addressed. I mean, there's some people that, to be quite frank, as much as that I might love their soul, I can't stand what their life choices are. I mean, you're not going to convince me that I want to go out of my way to help a pedophile, or go out of my way to help a murderer or a rapist. Now, I understand that these type of people exist in the world because there still needs to be bad guys. Now, here is where I'm going to try to expand your mind, where I'm going to try to expand your perspective. Your life here compared to what your soul is less than a blink of an eye. Even if you live to be 100 years old, compared to eternity, that's not even taking a breath. So, if in life there are things that happen that give you these perspectives, that give you the totality of what it's like to be human, then you're going to come across negative circumstances. You're going to come across negative experiences. And you're going to come across people that, seem to walk solely in the darkness. Though I truly believe there is no one on the planet that walks solely in darkness or solely in the light. The best analogy I can use is about, how the phrase of life is a stage. So let's take that a step further, and we say that life is like a movie. When you watch a movie that has a bad guy in it, which most movies do, when the movie is over, do you blame the actor for the things he did in the movie? I look at that as kind of like being the difference between the soul and the body. The body is what accomplishes the act. It's what is portrayed in the movie. But the soul is the actor. They're the ones that are enacting the things that are going to occur. So at the end of this life, when my movie is over, I'm not going to blame the actors for fulfilling their roles. I'm not going to blame the souls of other people for the deeds that they committed being in this flesh. I am grateful for both the positive and the negative that's happened to me, because it's given me more of an understanding of what it's like to be human. It's given me more of an understanding of what life has to offer. And I recommend the same to you, is to take all the experiences that you've had, both negative and positive, and to really reflect upon all of them. See, here's the thing. People talk about enlightenment all the time. They talk about all these good feels and the connections that they feel with everybody, and you hear people talk about the collective conscious. You hear people turn around and talk about how we're all connected. That we're all, we all serve a purpose and things like that. Well, here's the thing about enlightenment. Enlightenment is not about everything being good. It's not about everything being positive and in the light. Enlightenment is about truth. Enlightenment is about understanding that there's a purpose behind everything. That means there's a purpose behind that rapist. There's a purpose behind that murderer. You're connected to them too. In the collective whole, you are still connected to them. And as much as you might not like to hear that, that's what enlightenment is. It's about understanding what the truth really is. It's about understanding that there's a purpose behind everything. That is what enlightenment is. Enlightenment is not about always being in the clouds and thinking that everything is always going to be hunky-dory, or that everybody needs to love one another. That is not going to happen. It's a scary thought for it to happen. For everyone to love one another would require a lot of brainwashing. It would mean that people were very much the same. Our diversity, which I believe very much in. I love diversity. I love that there's 8 billion people on this planet, and there's 8 billion different perspectives. For all of us to love one another, we'd all have to have the same perspective. That to me sounds like mind control, or or soul control, or who would really want that? Can you imagine everyone loving the exact same type of person? Can you imagine everyone loving the same opinion? Can you imagine everyone having the same opinion? That's a horrible thought to me. I mean, it is. I mean, I don't want everyone to think the way that I do. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I like the way that I think, but in no way, shape, or form do I ever believe that I think correctly all the time. I mean, mistakes are made to be made. I mean, mistakes is where I've learned the most from. Mistakes are the things that I remember. Don't get me wrong, okay? There's many other things that happen in life that it's all about your attitude. It's all about your perspective. As an example, at one point in time, not that I'm trying to get all dark and stuff, at one point in time, I watched my daughter be born and I watched my daughter die in the hands of a woman that I loved more than I could ever describe. Of course, it led to us getting divorced a couple years later, and I understand why. But the point that I'm trying to make in that is that it led me down a very dark path when I got divorced. I wanted to die. I didn't have the quote-unquote courage to take my own life, which, by the way, as far as when it comes to thoughts like that, if life is that bad that you have to take your own life, then living another day, it's not going to make you want to take your life even more. So you might as well see the next day. And unfortunately, I hate to tell you this, but you're going to die anyway one day. All of us are going to die. We have a 0% survival rate. Anyway, during that time frame, I got involved with a woman that was very abusive to me. Mentally as well as sometimes physically, because she knew that I wouldn't hit her. I don't believe in that. And so through that process, at one time I told my best friends, I'm like, I think this bee is going to get me killed. And it happened. She let 4 guys into my house while I was asleep who jumped me, beat the hell out of me, held me at gunpoint, robbed me. Now, I could look at that as being a very negative experience. I could go, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to me. However, there was a blessing that was in there. When they first came in, and I was held at gunpoint, I was already pinned down on the couch because, they jumped me while I was asleep, so they had me pinned instantly. The guy demanded to know where the money was at and said, I have a gun. Do you want to get shot? First thought that went through my mind was, oh yeah, that'll get you the money. It was at that moment there that I realized I didn't really want to die. I have so much more to experience being a human. I have so much more to experience in this body before my soul moves on to the next stage or the next life or, wherever it goes on after this body passes away. So to me, that experience was something that was an absolute necessity because it took that kind of experience to wake me up from the darkness that I was in. I feel blessed that particular ex-girlfriend did that to me. Now, I'm still not going to associate with her. I'm still not going to want to hang out with her, or anything like that because, the reality of it, the pragmatism of it. But in that same token, I understand that without that experience, I probably still want to die. I mean, there was a lot of events that happened all at one time that made me feel that way. And this is what one of the things I want to get across to some of you that you may have had some of them dark thoughts. It's okay for you to feel that way. It's another thing to act upon it. Some of us have gone through experiences where, it seems like it would be easier just to die than to keep on living. But let me give you a couple of things to think about. Do you remember what it's like to be hungry? To be really, really hungry. And then get that bite of that first food, about how good it tastes? You ever been really, really thirsty? Hot day and your mouth is dry and you take that sip of a cold liquid and how good it tasted? Have you ever turned around and been depressed and one of your friends does their best to try to make you smile, make you laugh, and the camaraderie that you feel. Those are things that are worth living for. Those are things that, even though it might get dark and it might get to the point that you think that you don't have anything left to fight for, those little wins are worth every moment. To have that taste in your mouth of the first food that actually, you've been craving, or that first drink that parches that throat. There's no easy solutions for anybody out there. There's not. To say, oh, do this or do that will help. Everybody has to figure it out, what works for them. Some of these ideas that I have, I hope will work for other people. Here's another idea for you. Here's another good reason to keep on fighting. I ain't gonna let them motherfuckers that beat me down win. I'm gonna outlive them motherfuckers. You know why? Because I ain't giving in. I'm not gonna turn around and bow my head and turn around and go, oh, you won. Why? Because I ain't giving them that satisfaction. It makes me ornery. That's why that I can't be a harbinger of light. I'm a smart ass. I fight against what I think is wrong because it's in my heart. I try to do what's right. Don't get me wrong, but there's many times when I'm struggling against the everyday life of feeling like a slave, or because I've always having to work to pay bills, or having to fight against being depressed because being lonely or anything like that. I have a smart ass attitude to it. It's part of what gives me that edge of standing up. And same token, when I meet other people that come across situations like that, I try to impart some kind of wisdom on them, so they have the tools to fight against it too. So anyway, the whole reason that I'm doing this second video in this kind of way is because, I really do want to come across as being authentic. And it's not that in the first video that I wasn't authentic. I really just talked mostly about what my name is. The second video that I first started to do was, I was trying to impart, talking about love and kindness and things like that. And I will talk about those things because that is very much a part of my nature too. But the thing is that I want you to see that I'm not just any one of those things. I'm all of those things. I'm the high, I'm the low. I'm the light, I'm the dark. I'm the good and I'm the bad. I'm human. Without those things, you really never get to understand what the human experience is. I hope you all have a blessed night. I hope you have an adventurous night. I hope that you get to see things in a way that you didn't think to. Remember, there's 8 billion of us on this planet. You're not the only one who thinks the way that you do or feels the way that you do. But I also promise you, there's plenty of others who think and feel different than you do too, and that's okay as well.